Cold Mind, Warm Heart. The Science of Mental Toughness full audiobook. Reprogram your mind to stay composed, compassionate, and unbreakable, no matter the storm. Let's start from the opening. This world doesn't reward emotions. It rewards control. You can't think clearly if you're drowning in feelings. You can't lead if you're reacting to a cold mind doesn't mean a cold heart. It means you think with precision, love with discipline, and act without hesitation. Mental toughness isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about mastering emotions so deeply it becomes your weapon. This is how you build it. This is how you win when others break. Chapter 1. Stop reacting. Start responding. You can't master your life if you can't master your reactions. That's the truth most people never face. They spend their days reacting to comments, to traffic, to opinions, to outcomes. Every beep, every insult, every rejection pulls a string inside them. And like puppets, they dance to emotions they don't control. That you've done it, that you've felt the rush. The instant heat when someone disrespects you, ignores you, or challenges you. Your body tightens. Your heart races. Your pride screams. And before you even realize it, you've reacted, said something, done something, or posted something you regret. That's not control, that's slavery, emotional slavery. You think reacting makes you strong, that it doesn't, that it makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. The powerful don't react, they respond. And there's a difference. Reacting is emotional reflex. Responding is conscious control. Reacting is automatic. It's the child in you wanting to be right. Responding is deliberate. It's the adult in you wanting to be effective. You must train your mind to create space between emotion and action, that's the secret. That's the key. Pause, breathe, respond. This is the mantra of mental warriors. When you pause, you gain distance from the fire. When you breathe, you cool the mind. When you respond, you act with precision, not panic. That pause, it's your power, that it's invisible, but it's everything. 0.3 seconds. That's all you need. The 3-second rule. The mental gap between stimulus and response. When the world hits you, don't swing back instantly. Wait. Observe. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want here? Not how do I feel, but what result do I need? That's the difference between amateurs and masters. Amateurs act out feelings. Masters act on purpose. Now let's make this real. Imagine someone insults you publicly. Your first impulse is to fight back, to defend your pride. But if you do, you've already lost that you're on their level. You're reacting to their energy, that you've given them control over your emotional state. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you wait 3 seconds, something happens. You realize they're not attacking your worth. They're revealing theirs. You realize silence is more powerful than reaction. And when you finally do speak, it's with authority, not anger. That's how leaders move. That's how warriors win. Here's another example. You get bad news, a deal falls through, a plan collapses, a relationship ends. The reactive mind says, why me? This isn't fair. The responsive mind says, all right, what's next? What's the move? One mindset breaks. The other adapts. That's the difference between suffering and growth. Reaction is emotional. Response is strategic. You don't need to suppress emotion. You need to steer it. Feel everything, but let reason lead. That's maturity. That's mastery. Most people think control means coldness. They're wrong. Control means clarity. You still feel everything. You just don't let those feelings dictate your behavior. You can't lead a company, a team, or a family if you can't lead your own impulses. You can't build peace if you explode at every trigger. You can't reach greatness if you keep letting emotion make decisions meant for reason. This is your new standard. Pause. Breathe. Respond. Write it somewhere. Repeat it daily. Etch it into your nervous system. Because here's the truth. The world will keep testing you. People will provoke you. Life will disappoint you. emotions will rise. But if you can hold your ground in that emotional storm, you've already won. You don't need their apology. You don't need their validation. You need your self-control. That's the foundation of all strength. When your mind is calm, your decisions are sharp. When your heart is steady, your presence is magnetic. When your reactions are controlled, your life becomes predictable by you, not by circumstance. Let's get practical. Starting today, practice the 3-second rule. When something triggers you, a rude comment, a delay, an insult, a failure, don't react instantly. Pause. Breathe deeply. Count 1, 2, 3. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Will this matter in a week? Does my reaction solve or worsen the situation? That's how you rewire your emotional circuitry. That's how you build mental armor. Because emotion is fast, wisdom is slow. You need both, but in the right order. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you reprogram your nervous system for strength. Every time you control that impulse, you prove to yourself that you are in charge. That's the discipline that separates warriors from wanderers. You have a choice. Always in every argument, in every setback, in every insult. You have a choice. React emotionally or respond intelligently. Point 1 weakens you. 1 strengthens you. The more you choose response, the calmer your mind becomes. The calmer your mind becomes, the stronger your life gets. Because a calm mind doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care wisely. It means you protect your peace like it's gold. And it is the next time you're triggered. Remember this. The one who controls his emotions controls the situation. The one who pauses first wins first. Pause. Breathe. Respond. You'll notice something powerful when you live this way. People will stop being able to manipulate you. They'll lose power over your emotions. They'll sense your composure. And they'll respect it. Even if they don't understand it, that's influence, that's mental dominance, that's quiet strength. Never forget, emotional control isn't weakness. It's silent superiority. It's the calm before every victory. You don't rise by reacting faster. You rise by thinking deeper. That's the essence of a cold mind, clear, composed, calculating. And that's what creates a warm heart, patient, steady, unbreakable. That you've learned the first rule of mental toughness. Control the space between feeling and action. That's where your power lives. That's where your freedom begins. You mastered your impulses. You conquered reaction. Now it's time to go deeper, because silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. Let's talk about the hidden weapon of every disciplined mind. Chapter 2. Emotion is energy. Direct it. Don't deny it. You've been told to control your emotions, but what they really meant was suppress them. They told you not to feel too deeply, not to care too much, not to show too much. They made you believe emotions make you weak, but they don't. Emotions don't make you weak. They make you human. What makes you weak is when you let those emotions control you, instead of using them as fuel. Emotion is energy. That's the truth. It's raw voltage moving through your mind and body. And like electricity, it can light your path or burn your house down. It depends on whether you direct it or deny it. The weak deny, the strong direct. The weak suppress emotion and pretend they're fine. The strong harness emotion and turn it into motion. That's the key. You got to stop fighting what you feel. You got to start using what you feel. You don't beat emotion by killing it. You beat emotion by commanding it. Let's be real. Anger, fear, disappointment, jealousy, these are not bad emotions. They're signals. They're energy. They're feedback from your inner world telling you something is out of balance. Something needs your attention. You don't run from those signals. You decode them. When you feel anger, don't explode. Analyze. Ask yourself, what boundary was crossed? What expectation was violated? What lesson is here? Because if you can identify the cause, you can control the effect. When you feel fear, don't freeze. Focus. Fear is information that IT shows you where you're unprepared or uncertain. Use it to get sharper, smarter, stronger. When you feel envy, don't hate. Observe. Envy points you toward what you secretly desire but haven't yet built the courage to pursue. Let it guide your action, not poison your mind. You have a choice. Every single time .to react emotionally or respond. Intentionally .to waste that energy or redirect it toward progress. Use it. Don't lose it. That's your new standard. Let's look at real life. Think of a professional athlete in the final moments of a game. They feel fear. They feel pressure. They feel anger, excitement, exhaustion, but they don't collapse under it. They channel it. They turn that emotional chaos into laser focus. Every heartbeat becomes fuel. Every doubt becomes drive. That's emotional mastery. Now think of someone who explodes in traffic, shouts online, argues over nonsense. That's the opposite. That's emotional waste. Pure energy, no direction. All output, no outcome. That's what undisciplined emotion looks like. That's how people drain their life force without realizing it. It's not about feeling less, that it's about feeling with direction, that it's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. When you suppress emotion, you store poison. When you express emotion with awareness, you release power. Stop running from anger. Stop denying fear. Stop pretending disappointment doesn't hurt. Acknowledge it. Then channel it. You can turn anger into determination. You can turn sadness into clarity. You can turn fear into focus. That's what emotionally strong people do. They transmute emotion into energy. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Recognize the feeling. Don't hide from it. Name it. I'm angry. I am anxious. I am jealous. Naming it weakens its grip. You can't control what you refuse to confront. Step 2. Breathe through it. Breath resets the nervous system. Deep breathing breaks the emotional loop and restores command. Point 3. Deep breaths. Slow, full, deliberate. Pull you out of reaction and into awareness. Step 3. Redirect it. Turn that energy towards something productive. Right. Train. Build. Move. Channel the fire into creation instead of destruction. Use it. Don't lose it. Every emotion has a positive form when disciplined. Anger becomes passion. Fear becomes alertness. Sadness becomes depth. Even doubt becomes preparation. That it's all about direction. You can either explode or evolve. You can either vent or transform, but that's the difference between emotional amateurs and emotional warriors. Emotional amateurs get drained. Emotional warriors get charged. Think about it. Your greatest breakthroughs never came from comfort. They came from emotion, from heartbreak, from frustration, from failure. Pain woke you up. Emotion moved you forward. Emotion is the engine of transformation. If you learn how to drive it, you have to stop labeling emotions as good or bad. Emotion is neutral. Your response gives it power. You decide whether that power builds you or breaks you. Stop saying, I shouldn't feel this way. Start asking, what can I do with this feeling? That's emotional maturity. That's mental strength. That's what separates growth from guilt. The truth is simple. You can't think your way out of emotion. You have to move your way through it. Action is the antidote. Every time you act with purpose, you convert emotion into energy. That's why great performers, great leaders, great creators, they all have emotional fire. They just know how to aim it. They don't suppress it. They sculpt it. They don't drown in it. They ride it. Emotion is not your enemy. Undisciplined emotion is. Emotion without direction is destruction. Emotion with direction is domination. When you learn this, you stop fearing your feelings. You start trusting your strength. You start realizing that emotions are messages, not commands. They inform you, but they don't define you. You don't need their permission to feel. You don't need anyone's validation to express. You only need discipline to channel. Use it. Don't lose it. That's how you transform emotional chaos into inner calm. That's how you move from reaction to creation. Remember, emotion itself isn't the problem. Energy unmanaged becomes chaos. Energy mastered becomes confidence. That's the science of mental toughness. Direction over denial. The next time emotion hits, don't fight it. Harness it. Feel it fully, but guide it wisely. Because when you can turn emotional energy into disciplined action, nothing can stop you that you've learned the second. Pillar of a cold mind and a warm heart, that you've learned how to feel deeply without falling apart, that you've learned to command your inner voltage and use it as power. Now it's time to go one step further. You've learned to channel emotion. But to stay in control, you must understand your greatest enemy. Overreaction, that you've mastered the flow. Now it's time to master the restraint. Chapter 3. The enemy is overreaction. The fastest way to lose power is to overreact. The fastest way to destroy trust is to overreact. The fastest way to lose control of your life is to overreact. Overreaction is the silent killer of discipline, and it's the assassin of clarity. It's the reason most people never build anything that lasts. You can work for 5 years building a name, a relationship, a reputation, and ruin it in 5 seconds of uncontrolled emotion that you've lived it. Someone says something you don't like. Someone disrespects you. Someone betrays you. And you explode. You say things you can't take back. You make moves you regret. That's what overreaction does. It makes permanent damage out of temporary emotions. Never let a 5-second feeling destroy a 5-year plan. That's the rule, that's the key. Overreaction is emotional immaturity disguised as strength. That it feels powerful in the moment, like you're standing up for yourself. But it's weakness in disguise, because when you lose your temper, you lose your throne. You think you're proving a point, you're not, you're proving instability, you're proving you. Can be baited, you're proving that someone else can push your buttons, and that means they control you. Overreaction isn't power. Composure is power. Patience is power. Restraint is power. You don't win by shouting louder. You win by thinking clearer. Let's make this real. Imagine you're negotiating a deal. The other person tries to provoke you, throws out an insult, questions your worth, makes an unfair offer. If you react emotionally, you lose leverage instantly, because emotion clouds judgment. And when your judgment is clouded, they control the field. But if you stay calm, if you keep your voice steady, your body still, your breathing even, you shift the power. You force them to reveal their emotion while you remain centered. That's how professionals move. That's how leaders win. Overreaction destroys clarity. Calm restores it. You can't see solutions when your vision is shaking. You can't think strategically when your heart is racing. That's why composure is not just emotional discipline. It's tactical intelligence. Never let a 5-second feeling destroy a 5-year plan. Say it again. Say it until it becomes automatic. Because that's how most people lose everything. They make emotional decisions in moments of ego. They throw away progress to protect pride. They sacrifice peace for performance. And the tragedy is they don't even realize it until it's too late. Think about this. How many times have you sent a message you shouldn't have sent? Said something you didn't mean? Reacted too fast, too strong, too loud? And later thought, why did I do that? That's the curse of overreaction. It makes you look back and realize you were never in control. Your emotions were. You have to become the kind of person who doesn't respond instantly. Instant reaction is impulse. Delayed reaction is power. Take the pause. Take the breath. Take the space between emotion and action, because that's where maturity lives. You have a choice. You always do. When your mind says fight back, you can choose silence. When your pride says prove them wrong, you can choose Patience. When your ego says, don't let it go, you can choose to walk away. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to swing at every insult thrown your way. You don't need to prove your strength. Your restraint already does that. The loudest person in the room isn't the strongest. The calmest one is. Overreaction is a test, and you'll face it daily. Someone will disrespect you. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will trigger you. Your power will depend on one question. Will you take the bait? You must train your mind to recognize the bait. The bait is the comment, the tone, the look, the delay. It's designed to provoke a reaction. And when you bite, you lose control. But when you stay calm, you starve the game. You confuse the manipulator. You reclaim the powered. I in leadership. Composure builds trust. I in love. Composure builds safety. I in conflict. Composure builds control. Every area of life rewards emotional control. Every area of life punishes overreaction. That it's not about being passive. It's about being precise. That it's not about suppressing emotion. That it's about managing emotion. Overreaction is fast and sloppy. Response is slow and surgical. Be surgical. When anger rises, breathe. When pride stirs, wait. When pressure builds, slow down. You're not here to react. You're here to rule. People who can't control themselves can't control outcomes. People who can't control outcomes can't build empires. And you're building an empire. Remember this. Composure is your credibility. The world watches how you move when things don't go your way. That's where your true character is revealed, not in comfort, but in conflict. Anyone can look confident when things are easy. True confidence shows when chaos hits. That's when the calm mind shines. Overreaction is noise. Calm is signal. Overreaction is weakness. Calm is power. You don't need their permission to stay composed. You don't need their apology to stay centered. You don't need their understanding to stay in control. You just need discipline. Because that's what this really is, a discipline. Every time you resist the urge to overreact, you strengthen the muscle of emotional control. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you build mental toughness. Every time you delay your reaction, you protect your peace. That you're not suppressing your emotions. You're mastering them. That you're not ignoring what hurts. You're deciding how to handle it. Because power isn't in reacting faster, it's in responding smarter. The next time someone tries to push you, remember, you don't need to swing at every punch. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Sometimes silence is the knockout. Never let a 5-second feeling destroy a 5-year plan. Write it down. Repeat it. Live by it. Because the one who controls his overreaction controls his destiny. That you've learned how to direct emotion. Now you've learned how to restrain it. But there's one more level. One that separates emotional control from true inner mastery. That it's the art of detachment. Because to stay calm under fire, you must learn not to cling to outcomes. That you've learned to control emotion. Now, let's learn to control attachment. Chapter 4. Detachment is not coldness. It's control. Most people misunderstand attachment. They think it means apathy, indifference, coldness. That it's not. True detachment is power. That it's the ability to stay steady when everyone else shakes. That it's calm inside chaos. It's composure when emotions run wild. It's involvement without enslavement. You can care deeply. You can love fully. You can give completely and still stay detached. Because detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. That it means you stop depending. You stop depending on outcomes. You stop depending on validation. You stop depending on approval. That's the key. Detachment is not about shutting your heart. It's about strengthening your mind. That it's not about being cold. It's about being cleared. It's not about rejecting life. It's about not being ruled by it. When you're detached, you still play the game. You just don't lose yourself in the scoreboard. You still work. You still love. You still fight for your vision. But you're not emotionally destroyed when things don't go your way. You remain centered. You remain whole. Because the detached mind knows this truth. You can control your actions, not the outcome. You can control your effort, not the environment. You can control your response, not their respect. That's emotional maturity. That's leadership. That's mastery. You have a choice. You can live reactive, or you can live detached. Point one burns energy. The other builds power. Let's get practical. When someone criticizes you, pause. Don't defend. Don't explain. Don't fight for validation. Ask yourself, does this help my mission? If not, let it pass. That's detachment. When life delays your plans, don't panic. Don't spiral. Don't label it as failure. Detach from the timeline. Stay focused on the work. That's detachment. When people leave, let them. Don't chase. Don't beg. Don't crumble. Detach from the illusion of permanence. That's detachment. It's not coldness, that's control. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, understood this better than anyone. He ruled an empire, led armies, lost children, faced betrayal, and yet never lost composure. Because he lived detached, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Marcus was betrayed by men he trusted. He watched Rome crumble from within, but he didn't rage. He didn't collapse, that he didn't take the bait of emotional chaos, that he stayed calm, that he stayed steady, he stayed sovereign over his own mind, that's detachment in motion, that's leadership through composure, that's strength without noise. You want to master your emotions? Detach from outcomes. You want to stop being manipulated? Detach from approval. You want peace in a noisy world? Detach from control. Because control is an illusion. You can't control people. You can't control events. You can only control your inner state. And that's what detachment protects. Your inner state, that it's not about quitting, that it's about not being enslaved by what you can't control, that it's not about avoiding pain, that it's about refusing to let pain dictate your direction. When you practice detachment, you gain freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from emotional dependence. The detached person still feels, they just don't drown. They still hope, they just don't hinge their worth on the result. They still love, they just don't lose themselves in the other person. That's not cold. That's clear, that's not indifference. That's intelligence. You have a choice every day to react or to remain. To grasp or to release. To force or to flow. And every time you choose to let go, you grow. You want to test your detachment? Here's how. When things don't go your way, stay calm. When people don't appreciate your effort, keep working. When life doesn't give you what you want, thank it. And keep moving. That's strength. That's control. That's detachment. You don't need their permission to be at peace. You don't need their attention to feel worthy. You don't need their approval to keep going. Your mission doesn't depend on their reaction. Your worth doesn't depend on their applause. It depends on your discipline. It depends on your consistency. It depends on your focus. Detach from results. Attach to effort. Detach from approval. Attach to purpose. Detach from comfort. Attach to growth. Because the more you detach from the uncontrollable, the more control you gain over yourself. And self-control is the highest form of freedom. That's what the Stoics knew. They weren't emotionless. They were emotionally trained. They weren't distant. They were deliberate. They weren't cold. They were calm. They didn't fight every storm. They became the storm's still center. That's your goal. Become unshakable in a shaking world. Be the calm in the noise. Stand still while others scramble. Because that's what detachment gives you, steadiness. And steadiness attracts everything chaos destroys. Respect, confidence, clarity. When people see you can't be rattled, they trust you. When your emotions don't swing with circumstance, your life stabilizes. When you stop chasing outcomes, outcomes start chasing you. That's the paradox of detachment. When you let go, you gain. When you cling, you lose. The tighter you hold, the faster things slip. The calmer you stay, the longer things last. Oh, stop trying to control what was never yours. You can't control timing. You can't control people. You can't control the world. You can only control your effort, your energy, your attitude. That's the battlefield of self-mastery, your inner world. And detachment is your armor. That IT protects your mind from panic. That IT protects your heart from exhaustion. That IT protects your focus from distraction. You don't have to be cold to be powerful. You just have to be clear. You don't have to be distant to be strong. You just have to be disciplined. It's not about feeling less, that it's about reacting less, that it's not about doing less, that it's about doing what matters without emotional chaos. That's detachment, that's control, that's how leaders move. You have a choice. Live reactive and lose control, or live detached and gain power. Choose power. Because once you master detachment, you stop chasing what distracts you and start building what defines you, that you've learned to hold your emotions steady, that you've learned to keep your mind centered. Now it's time to take that inner stillness and turn it into outer precision, because detachment creates focus, and focus builds power. Let's take that next step, where mental calm becomes daily execution, where peace becomes performance, that you've learned to stay steady. Now, let's talk about how to move with precision. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is power. Most people talk because they fear silence. They fill the air with noise, excuses, explanations, emotions. They think words will make them look confident. But the truth is the opposite. The more you speak emotionally, the more power you leak. The more you explain yourself, the less people respect you. The louder you react, the smaller you appear. Power grows in quiet. That's the key. When you master silence, you control tension. You control the energy in the room. You control the outcome of the moment. Say less. Mean more. That's your mantra. Every time you speak, you spend energy. Every time you respond emotionally, you surrender control. But when you stay quiet, you hold all the cards. Think about it. When someone insults you and you don't react, they feel small. When someone provokes you and you just stare, they break first. When someone tries to manipulate you and you don't answer, they lose power. That's dominance without noise. That's confidence without performance. That's control without chaos. You have a choice. You can speak to prove your worth, or you can stay silent and demonstrate it. True discipline is not about what you say. It's about what you withhold. Because silence isn't emptiness. Silence is space. It's the pause that creates gravity, and it's the moment that makes people listen. The disciplined mind knows. Not every opinion deserves a reply. Not every argument deserves energy. Not every insult deserves a reaction. It's not about ego. It's about efficiency, that you're not ignoring them. You're prioritizing your peace. You don't need their permission to stay silent. You don't need to explain why you're calm. You don't need to prove your intelligence through constant words. Say less. Mean more. Let's break it down. When you stay silent in conflict, you control the tempo. The emotional person always moves first. And that's when they lose. They reveal their cards. They show their insecurity. They give away their position. But the silent person, they watch, they analyze. They let the noise burn itself out. And when they finally speak, every word hits like a hammer. That's the power of silence. In negotiation. Silence makes others speak too much. They reveal their fears, their motives, their limits. The one who can stay quiet the longest wins. In relationships. Silence teaches boundaries. You don't have to argue to prove you care. You don't have to chase to prove your worth. Sometimes silence says, I know my value. I don't need to debate IT in leadership. Silence builds presence. People follow those who stay calm when things fall apart. They trust a voice that doesn't rush to speak, but speaks when it counts. That's why great leaders pause before they answer. That's why great minds listen more than they talk. That's why great warriors breathe before they act. It's not about suppression. It's about selection. You choose when to speak. You choose how much to reveal. You choose when to walk away. You have a choice every single time. When someone challenges you, don't rush to defend yourself. Pause. Breathe. Let silence do the talking. To IT unsettles them. IT resets the dynamic. That IT reminds them. You can't be pulled into emotional traps, because the truth is this. Emotionally noisy people are easy to manipulate, that they're predictable, that they're impulsive. They give away their power every time they open their mouth in anger. But disciplined silence makes you unreadable. And unreadable means untouchable. It's not about avoiding communication, that it's about upgrading it. Every word becomes a weapon, not a leak. Every statement becomes a decision, not a reaction. You don't talk to fill the space. You talk to shift the space. That's the mindset of a mental warrior. That's the discipline of silence. Say less. Mean more. Let's go deeper. When you argue to be right, you lose presence. When you explain too much, you lose authority. When you over-apologize, you lose respect. It's not arrogance. It's alignment that you're not silent, because you don't care that you're silent, because you know noise doesn't change truth. The truth doesn't need a defense. The truth speaks through results. Your silence says, "Watch me." Your silence says, "I don't argue with weakness." Your silence says, "I'm too focused to fight meaningless battles." That's discipline, that's power. Remember, stillness is not passivity, that it's precision, that it's choosing not to waste energy where it doesn't multiply. You must learn to observe without reacting, listen without defending, wait without frustration. You don't chase energy, you regulate it. You don't fight noise, you transcend it. That's how you command any room, any conversation, any moment, not through noise, but through presence. The more you master silence, the louder your actions become. Because the world eventually notices those who don't beg to be noticed. It's not about saying nothing. It's about saying the right thing at the right time. That's emotional intelligence. That's mental toughness. The next time you feel the urge to defend, pause. The next time you feel provoked, breathe. The next time you feel misunderstood, let it be. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to be understood to be at peace. Silence will protect your focus. Silence will sharpen your power. Silence will multiply your respect. Because the one who controls his tongue controls his mind, and the one who controls his mind controls his world. Say less. Mean more. That's not just a phrase, that it's a discipline, that it's a filter for your energy, that it's the foundation of inner strength. Stop explaining your vision. Stop defending your decisions. Stop apologizing for your focus. Let your silence speak for you. Let your results prove you right, because in the end, people remember the ones who moved in silence, not the ones who shouted for attention. You have a choice: to talk emotionally, or to act deliberately. To chase noise, or to create signal. To speak constantly, or to speak powerfully. Choose silence. Choose control. Choose mastery. Because silence isn't the absence of power. It's the origin of it. That you've learned how to stay calm. When provoked, you've learned how to reclaim power through silence. Now, it's time to take that discipline and apply it to the most critical battlefield of all, your habits. Because silence may give you control, but habits give you direction. And direction creates destiny. Let's take the next step. Chapter 6. Pain is data. Listen without breaking. Pain, everyone feels it. Few understand it. Even fewer learn from it. Most people treat pain like punishment. They resist it. They hide from it. They drown in it. But the mentally tough, they do something different. They listen to it. They treat pain as feedback. They treat pain as information. They treat pain as data. That's the key. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your messenger. It's your system's way of saying something must change. The weak personalize pain. The strong analyze it. Observe the pain. Don't personalize it. You have a choice. You can let pain define you, or you can let it refine you. Because every discomfort carries a lesson. Every heartbreak carries direction. Every failure carries a message. But if you're too emotional, too reactive, too attached, you'll never hear it. That you'll drown the noise instead of decoding the signal. Listen carefully. Your pain is trying to teach you something. When you feel frustrated, it's not the universe punishing you, that it's exposing your attachment to control. When you feel rejected, it's not rejection, it's redirection. When you feel anxious, it's not weakness, it's a sign your mind is overloaded. Pain speaks, but only the calm can hear it. Most people run from pain because it hurts. They numb it. They distract it. They blame others for it. But avoidance is not healing. Avoidance is addiction to comfort. You can't build resilience in comfort. You can't find wisdom in distraction. You can't evolve without discomfort. So stop running. Stop numbing. Stop escaping. Face the pain. Observe the pain. Decode the pain. That's the path to strength. Mentally tough people don't say, "Why me?" They say, "What is this teaching me?" That shift from victimhood to observation is the turning point. That's when pain transforms into power. Pain reveals your limits. Pain exposes your blind spots. Pain clarifies your priorities. When you hit emotional pain, ask, what truth am I refusing to face? When you hit physical pain, ask, what boundary did I ignore? When you hit mental pain, ask, what fear is controlling me? Every answer you need hides behind your discomfort. The weak panic when they hurt. The strong study it. Because they know pain is data. It's feedback. That it's a signal from the universe that something isn't aligned. Observe the pain. Don't personalize it. When a soldier trains, the pain in his muscles is feedback, telling him he's getting stronger. When an entrepreneur fails, the pain of loss is data, showing what doesn't work. When a relationship ends, the pain of separation is truth, revealing what was no longer growing. That's how warriors think. They don't see pain as an obstacle. They see it as a compass, that it's not about suffering for the sake of suffering, that it's about extracting meaning from every moment that hurts. The pain you're avoiding right now is the lesson you'll have to repeat later. And each time you avoid it, the lesson gets louder. That's why you can't run anymore. You can't hide behind comfort anymore. You can't pretend that numbness is strength. It's not its weakness disguised as calm. Real calm is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of understanding. You have a choice. You can react emotionally, or you can respond intellectually. You can take it personally, or you can take it usefully. When life punches you, you can either cry about it or study the punch. Where did it land? Why did it land? What left you open? That's how fighters grow. That's how mental warriors evolve. Pain is not random. Pain is precise, that it's diagnostic, it's directional. Your job is to read it, not resist it. When you train your body, pain tells you where your limits are. When you train your mind, pain tells you where your ego hides. When you train your spirit, pain tells you what still owns your peace, that's valuable data, that's growth information, that's wisdom disguised as discomfort. The world will tell you to escape. Pain, distractions, dopamine, denial. But that's how people stay weak. Pain is the filter that separates the disciplined from the desperate. That IT exposes who can stay still when it burns. That IT shows who can observe without overreacting. And that's your mission, to learn to feel deeply without falling apart. You don't need to suppress your pain. You need to study it. You don't need to toughen up by pretending it doesn't hurt. You need to toughen up by understanding why it hurts. Because when you understand your pain, it stops owning. You observe the pain. Don't personalize it. That if you treat pain as a punishment, you'll grow bitter. That if you treat pain as data, you'll grow disciplined. When you stop saying, "This is unfair," and start saying, "This is feedback," your whole life changes. You move from suffering to self-mastery. Pain loses its control when you extract its meaning, and meaning transforms pain into progress. Every failure becomes instruction. Every heartbreak becomes education. Every setback becomes strategy. That's mental toughness in its purest form. Not avoiding pain, but using it. You have to build this muscle consciously. Next time you're hurt, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it. Observe it. Ask what it's showing you. That's the practice. That's the discipline. Don't say, "This shouldn't be happening." Say, "This is happening for a reason." Don't say, "I'm broken." Say, "I'm being rebuilt." That's not delusion. That's leadership over your own mind. Pain can break you, or it can build you, depending on how you interpret it. And interpretation is everything. That's the power of choice. That's the foundation of emotional control. Remember this. The same fire that melts wax, hardens clay, but it's not about the heat. It's about what you're made of. Stop asking, "When will the pain end?" Start asking, "What is this pain shaping me into?" Because pain will always visit you, but whether it destroys you or develops you, that's your decision. Observe the pain. Don't personalize it. When you stop reacting, you start learning. When you stop escaping, you start growing. When you stop crying for comfort, you start earning wisdom. That's the turning point of transformation. You don't need to run from pain anymore. You need to read it. You need to record it. You need to respond to it. Not with emotion, but with evolution. That's how the mind becomes cold and the heart stays warm. That's how discipline turns pain into purpose. Because pain isn't here to destroy. It's here to direct you. That you've faced the discomfort, that you've learned to observe instead of react. Now it's time to use that awareness in the next stage of mental toughness. Rebuilding focus after pain. Because pain doesn't just teach. It tests your consistency. That you've studied the data. Now you must act with precision. Chapter 7. Train your mind like a soldier. You want to be mentally tough? Then you must train your mind like a soldier. Not like a dreamer. Not like a victim. Like a soldier. Because soldiers don't wait for motivation. They move because it's time to move. They act because action is the order. That's discipline. That's structure. That's how you build an unbreakable mind. Routine builds resilience. Chaos destroys it. That's the truth. If your days are random, your emotions will be random. If your actions are unstable, your confidence will collapse. You cannot build strength in chaos. You build strength in structure. You build power in pattern. Every day is a battlefield for your attention, your focus, and your emotional control. And if you don't train for it, you lose by default. You wake up late. You scroll your phone. You react to everything. You're not leading your day. Your day is leading you. That's weakness disguised as normal life. That's how average people live. Reactive, emotional, unprepared. But not you. Not if you want to live with a cold mind and a warm heart. You train, you condition, you command yourself. That's how a soldier thinks. That's how discipline takes root. Discipline first, emotion later. That's the rule. You move first, feel later. You do what must be done. Then you decide how you feel about it. Most people reverse it. They let emotion lead. They wait to feel ready. That's why they stay stuck. You will never rise above your training, and you will never rise without training. Here's the mission. Build your daily discipline routine. Simple, ruthless, non-negotiable. Not for comfort, for conditioning. Because your mind is just like a muscle that if you don't train it, it weakens. That if you push it daily, it adapts. That's the law. That's the key. Start small, but stay consistent. Wake up at the same time, even when you don't want to. Train your body, even when it hurts. Write your thoughts, even when you're tired. This is not about perfection, that it's about pattern. Because repetition creates identity. That if your routine says discipline, your identity becomes discipline. That if your routine says comfort, your identity becomes weakness. You have a choice. Every single morning, you have a choice. Will you command your mind, or will you let your emotions command you? That's the battle. Every day. How do you train your mind like a soldier? You practice controlled discomfort, cold showers. Why? Because it's training in shock control. Your body screams, get out, but your mind says, stay. That's how you harden the link between command and reaction. Journaling. Why? Because soldiers debrief. They analyze what happened, what worked, what failed. You write your victories, your weak points, your lessons. That's how you build awareness instead of avoidance. Physical training. Why? Because movement builds momentum. When the body is active, the mind follows. You teach yourself to act even under fatigue. Discipline first, emotion later, and excuses, and waiting, and asking for permission. Every time you act in discipline, you're rewiring your brain that you're teaching it. We do hard things. We stay consistent. We obey the mission. That's the soldier's mindset. You don't need a battlefield to live like one. That your mind is the battlefield. Every distraction is an enemy. Every excuse is a trap. Every emotional impulse is a test. And every morning, you're at war with yourself. If you win the first hour, you win the day. That if you lose the first hour, the day owns you. Start your morning like a soldier preparing for war, with discipline, precision, and purpose. Get up early. Snooze button. Drink water. Breathe. Move your body. Set your targets for the day. That's not a ritual. That's a psychological armor. T tells your brain, we lead here. It tells your emotions, you follow. That's the separation between amateurs and warriors. Amateurs hope for control. Warriors train for control. You have to make discipline automatic, not negotiable, because chaos will test you. People will test you. Life will test you. And when it does, your training kicks in. You don't break. You don't overreact. You stay centered. You've already rehearsed pressure. You've already built stability. That's why routine matters. Not for control, but for confidence. Routine gives your mind a rhythm that a rhythm you can rely on when everything else falls apart. When emotions spike, routine grounds you. When stress rises, routine protects you. When the world shakes, discipline holds you steady. Discipline is your anchor in chaos. That's the truth. And the longer you train, the stronger the anchor becomes. Every cold shower is a rep. Every early morning is a rep. Every workout, every journal entry, every quiet moment of control. Rep after rep after rep, that you're building neural armor that you're programming yourself for. Calm in crisis, that's not arrogance, that's preparation. You have to stop treating life like it's random, that it's not random. It's responsive, that IT rewards the trained, IT exposes the unprepared. That's why mental toughness isn't building comfort. It's building consistent self-command. You won't wake up one day suddenly strong. You will become strong through thousands of small, disciplined choices. And yes, it's repetitive, that it's boring, that it's predictable, that's the point. Because while the world chases stimulation, you're building stability. While others seek pleasure, you're building power. While they're emotional, you're effective. That's the difference between the reactive and the resilient. Discipline first, emotion later. Remember this. Every time you do something hard, your mind expands. Every time you stay consistent, your self-trust compounds. Every time you choose order over chaos, you grow stronger. That's not motivation, that's mental evolution. And when you live this way long enough, your identity changes. You stop being the person who tries. You become the person who executes that. That's when you stop chasing motivation and start commanding yourself. You have to earn that identity through daily proof, daily structure, daily sacrifice. You can't fake consistency. You can't cheat repetition. You can't shortcut self-discipline. The work reveals who's real. The routine reveals who's ready. And when you live like this, something incredible happens. You become calm in chaos. You become focused under pressure. You become your own commander. That's mental. Toughness, that's the soldier's mindset. Discipline first, emotion later. Every day, you have a choice. You can live soft and unstable, or hard and controlled. You can serve comfort or command yourself. But remember this, when your mind is trained, life cannot break you. When your mind is disciplined, emotions cannot rule you. When your mind is structured, chaos cannot destroy you. That's the power of routine. That's the essence of resilience. You've learned to command your inner soldier. Now it's time to command something even deeper. Your silence, your stillness, your inner weapon of focus. Because after structure comes control, and control begins in the quiet. Chapter 8. Don't chase validation. Build inner certainty. You want peace? Stop chasing validation. You want power? Build inner certainty. Because the moment you start living for approval, you start dying for attention. That's emotional slavery. And most people are addicted to it. They can't move without applause. They can't decide without opinions. They can't feel worthy unless someone else says they are. That's not freedom. That's dependency. That's weakness. Listen carefully. They don't have to believe in you. You do. That's the key. That's the foundation of real power. Because validation is a drug. IT gives you a hit of confidence, but it steals your control. IT makes you feel high, but it keeps you hooked. Every time you post something just to be liked, you feed the addiction. Every time you seek permission to move, you shrink your own power. Every time you wait for someone to say, you're good enough, you tell yourself you're not. You have to break that cycle. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. You don't need their belief. You need your own. You need to become the type of person who moves in silence, who builds in the dark, who creates without the need for claps or compliments. Because when you chase validation, you give others control over your energy. But when you build inner certainty, you take it back that it's not about being liked, that it's about being loyal to your mission, your values, your truth. And that requires one thing: detachment from approval. Understand this. People's opinions are unstable. That they'll praise you one day and doubt you the next. They'll love your strength until it reminds them of their weakness. They'll admire your success until it threatens their comfort. Stop trying to manage their perception. Start mastering your conviction. You have a choice. You can live to impress, or you can live to express. Point one leads to exhaustion. The other leads to power. When you live for validation, every failure feels fatal. Every criticism feels personal. Every rejection feels like proof that you're not enough. But when you live with inner certainty, failure becomes feedback. Criticism becomes perspective. Rejection becomes redirection. That's the shift. That's emotional freedom. They don't have to believe in you. You do. That's the mantra. Say it until it sinks in. Say it until you no longer flinch when they doubt you. You have to stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your mission. You have to stop shrinking your vision to fit their comfort. You have to stop delaying your purpose, waiting for applause. The world will catch up later. The duty is to move now. Let me give you a simple truth. The strongest people build quietly. They move in silence because they know energy leaks through explanation. The weak explain, the strong execute. You don't have to prove your worth. You have to demonstrate it. And demonstration doesn't come from talking. It comes from building that so stop showing off your goals. Start showing up for your goals. Stop posting for validation. Start producing for evolution. They don't have to believe in you. You do. Look at any great creator, leader, or warrior. In their early days, no one believed in them. People laughed, criticized, and doubted them. But they kept building. They kept refining. They kept walking when others quit. Because they didn't need belief from others. They had belief within. Inner certainty is the real engine of transformation. It's the quiet voice that says, keep going when the world says, you're wasting your time. It's the anchor that keeps you grounded when storms of doubt surround you. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You have to build it through repetition, through struggle, through self-trust. And that's what validation addicts lack, self-trust. They rely on likes instead of discipline. They rely on feedback instead of focus. They rely on applause instead of action. But you can't outsource confidence. You have to earn it. You earn it by keeping your promises to yourself. You earn it by doing what you said you'd do, especially when no one's watching. You earn it by staying consistent when recognition is absent. That's where inner certainty grows. In silence, in solitude, in self-command. The problem is, most people are terrified of silence. Because silence exposes insecurity, it reveals how little they actually believe in themselves. They fill the space with noise. They post. They brag. They over-explain. Not because they're proud, but because they're afraid. Don't be one of them to be the person who says nothing, but does everything, to be the one who acts without seeking reaction, to be the one who knows, my work will speak for me. That's power, because when your self-worth is internal, no one can manipulate it. Insult can touch it. Rejection can shake it. Silence can scare it, that you're rooted, that you're centered, that you're unshakable. That's what it means to build inner certainty. It's not arrogance, that it's alignment, that it's knowing who you are and refusing to let noise rewrite your identity. You have to understand this. Validation seeking will always end in emptiness because you're feeding an endless hole the moment you get approval. Your mind demands more. The moment they stop praising you, you feel worthless again. That it's not about being seen. It's about being solid. When you're certain within, you no longer chase. You attract, because real confidence is quiet, not loud. You stop needing to prove because you already know. You stop needing to convince because your results do the talking. You stop needing to be liked because you've learned to respect yourself. That's mastery. You have a choice. Keep chasing external approval and remain a puppet to opinions. Or build internal certainty and become a master of your own energy. Which one will you choose? Because if you want to command your life, you must first command your validation. Remember this. Your worth is not up for debate. Your mission doesn't need a witness. Your path doesn't need applause. You are enough. When you decide to be enough, that's the foundation of confidence. That's the essence of freedom. That's the seed of unshakable self-belief. They don't have to believe in you. You do. From this day forward, stop seeking proof. Start becoming proof. Through your actions, through your discipline, through your consistency. Because when your actions align with your purpose, validation becomes irrelevant. That you'll move with quiet conviction, that you'll operate from internal power, that you'll build your legacy brick by brick, without permission. And one day, when they finally notice, it won't even matter, because you won't need them anymore, that you'll already know who you are. That's the real victory. Not applause, not attention, but authentic self-trust, that you've learned how to detach from noise, that you've learned to believe in your own voice. Now it's time to master the next level. Controlling how you use that voice. Because after belief comes communication. And communication, when mastered, becomes power. That you've stopped chasing validation. Now, let's learn how to command influence. Chapter 9. Compassion without attachment. Compassion is strength. Attachment is weakness. You must learn the difference because one frees you and the other drains you. Having a warm heart doesn't mean carrying every burden to IT, doesn't mean fixing everyone's pain at IT, doesn't mean losing yourself to prove you care. True compassion is not about drowning with others. It's about throwing them a rope while keeping your own feet steady on the ground. That's the key. That's real empathy. Care deeply, stand firmly. But here's what happens to most people. They confuse emotional rescue with love. They think suffering with someone is the same as supporting them. It's not. Because when you carry everyone's weight, you eventually collapse under it. And when you collapse, you help no one. That you have to understand this truth. You are responsible to people, not for people. That distinction will save your mind. That IT will protect your peace. That IT will keep your compassion clean, not codependent. You have a choice. You can be a helper who empowers or a savior who destroys themselves trying to. That's the difference between compassion and attachment. Compassion sees clearly. Attachment sees through emotion. Compassion helps others grow. Attachment keeps them dependent. That it's not about being cold. It's about being conscious. Because love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-abandonment. And when you abandon yourself, you teach others to abandon you too. You don't need to stop caring. You need to start caring correctly. Care deeply, stand firmly. When you're grounded, your empathy becomes medicine. When you're ungrounded, it becomes poison for both you and them. Let me make this simple. If your kindness costs you your peace, it's not kindness anymore. If your giving leaves you empty, it's not generosity. It's self-neglect. If your empathy turns into exhaustion, it's not compassion. It's emotional confusion. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's not selfish. That's sustainable. Because the truth is, you're no good too. The world when you're drained. You can't guide anyone out of chaos if you're stuck in it yourself. That's why you must learn to detach. Not from people, but from outcomes. Not from love, but from control. You don't control who listens. You don't control who changes. You don't control who stays. You only control how you show up. Calm, grounded, loving, but unshaken. Care deeply, stand firmly. This is the discipline of compassion. You help when it's right, not when it's demanded. You give because it's true, not because it's expected. You love without losing yourself. And yes, sometimes it means walking away. Not because you don't care, but because you do. Because you refuse to participate in cycles that destroy peace. It's not about saving everyone, it's about saving your strength for those willing to be saved. You have to stop mistaking exhaustion for purpose. Stop mistaking emotional chaos for connection. Stop mistaking pain for loyalty. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Sometimes silence is compassion. Sometimes boundaries are healing. It's not about what you tolerate. It's about what you protect. You have a choice every time someone comes to you with pain. You can absorb it, or you can help them face it. Absorbing pain keeps people stuck. Helping them face it helps them grow. That's the mission of real compassion. Not to comfort forever, but to strengthen. You're not supposed to take their storm inside you. You're supposed to be the calm that helps them find their way out. That's leadership. That's love with discipline. That's power with grace. Care deeply, stand firmly. Let me tell you something. The most compassionate people in the world are also the most disciplined because they know love without control becomes chaos. They know empathy without edges becomes self-destruction. You need emotional boundaries the same way you need physical ones. Not to push people away, but to protect your energy. Stay clear. Stay effective. Every time you say yes when you mean no. You train people to ignore your truth. Every time you overextend, you teach people to take. Every time you lose sleep over someone else's choices, you forget your own power. That's not compassion. That's captivity, that you're not responsible for fixing people, that you're responsible for being an example of what healing looks like. That's the key. Lead by presence, not pressure. Lead by example, not exhaustion. Care deeply. Stand firmly. It's easy to be compassionate when people are grateful. That it's harder when they're entitled. It's easy to love when people are kind. It's harder when they're chaotic. That's where your emotional discipline is tested. Because compassion is not a reaction. It's a choice. You have to choose it consciously. Choose it without losing your balance. Choose it without compromising your peace. Real compassion doesn't say, "I'll carry you forever." It says, "I'll walk beside you until you can walk alone." It's not about pity, that it's about empowerment, that it's not about rescuing, and it's about reminding people of their own strength. You are not the solution to everyone's problems. You are a mirror, showing them they already have the strength to face it. That's what compassion with boundaries looks like. That's what mature empathy feels like. And yes, some people won't like it, because they don't want support, they want rescue. They don't want truth, they want comfort. They don't want healing, they want attention. You can't feed that. You can't water weeds and expect flowers to grow. You must protect your compassion by pairing it with clarity. Otherwise, it becomes manipulation bait. So from this point on, love without losing yourself. Give without draining yourself. Help without holding yourself hostage. Your heart is sacred. Don't hand it to those who won't handle it with care. Your peace is power. Don't trade it for someone else's drama. Your time is life. Don't waste it on people who refuse to grow. You can't save people from their choices, but you can choose to remain calm while they learn. That's compassion, that's control, that's strength. Care deeply. Stand firmly. And when you do, something changes. Your relationships become healthier. Your energy becomes stable. Your confidence becomes unshakable, because you no longer seek to be the hero. You seek to be the light. That you're not rescuing anyone. You're reminding them they can rescue themselves. That's the beauty of cold mind, warm heart. That's the balance of love with boundaries. That you've learned to give without guilt. You've learned to help without losing yourself. That you've learned that empathy without edges is chaos. And now, you've sharpened your edges, that you've built compassion with control. Now it's time to build composure under pressure. That you've learned to love with boundaries. Now let's learn to lead with calm. Chapter 10. The Cold Mind Code. This is it. The final code. The philosophy that ties it all together. That you've been tested, broken, rebuilt. You've learned discipline, that you've learned control, that you've learned what it means to lead yourself before you try to lead the world. Now it's time to live by the code, the Cold Mind Code. Simple words, hard execution. Few can live it, but those who do walk through fire without burning. Here's the essence. Observe, detach, act, repeat. That's the code. That's the rhythm. That's how you stay centered when chaos hits. You don't react, you observe. You don't cling, you detach. You don't hesitate, you act. And then you repeat. That's it. That's mastery. Because a cold mind isn't emotionless. It's uncontrolled emotion disciplined into direction. That it's focus under fire. It's stillness and noise. That it's clarity when the world screams confusion. That's the key. When your mind is cold, your purpose burns brighter. When your mind is cold, your heart grows warmer, because you're no longer led by chaos. You're led by conviction. Calm is power. Purpose is warmth. Combine both, and you are unstoppable. Let's break the code down. Step 1, observe. Most people react. They don't see, they just feel. They don't think, they just respond. That's why they keep making the same mistakes. Observation is awareness. That it's learning to see without judgment. That it's the discipline of silence before speech, calm before response. That a cold mind watches everything, including itself. You see the anger rising. You don't feed it. You see the fear coming. You don't run from it. You see the chaos forming. You don't become it, that's observation, that's the first law of control. When you can see yourself clearly, you can lead yourself correctly. And that's where the second step begins. Step 2, detach. Detach doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You let go of the need to be understood. You let go of the need to win every argument. You let go of the illusion of control. Detachment gives you clarity. Clarity gives you power. You can't make good decisions when you're emotionally tangled. You can't see the truth when your ego is screaming for validation. That's why detachment is strength, not coldness. You don't have to prove you're right. You don't have to chase every battle. You don't have to fight for every inch. You only fight for what matters. That's the discipline of the cold mind. Because a person ruled by emotion is predictable, but a person guided by principle, unstoppable. Calm is power. Purpose is warmth. Combine both, and you are unstoppable. Step 3, act. After observation and detachment comes movement, not impulse. Action. You move when it's time to move. You strike when it's time to strike. You rest when it's time to rest. You act not because you're pressured, but because you're prepared. Cold minds don't rush. They don't panic. They don't delay. They decide. They commit. They execute. Because once your emotion no longer clouds your judgment, decision-making becomes easy. You see the path clearly, and you walk it. That it's not about perfection, that it's about precision. You won't always get it right, but you'll always be conscious, and consciousness is power. Step 4, repeat. This is where mastery happens. Not in big moments, but in the daily discipline of repetition. Observe, detach, act, repeat, every day, every challenge, every emotion, every conversation. Because life doesn't test you once, it tests you constantly. And if you don't repeat the code, your old mind will take over again. Your emotions will regain control. Your habits will pull you back into chaos. The cold mind code isn't something you learn. It's something you live. Every time you face conflict, observe. Every time you feel triggered, detach. Every time a choice arises, act. Every time you fall, repeat. This is how you build mental armor. Not through theory, but through training. Every repetition makes your mind sharper. Every pause before reaction builds mastery. Every act of restraint becomes an act of strength. Calm is power. Purpose is warmth. Combine both, and you are unstoppable. Now, let's bring all of this together. That you've learned that emotional chaos destroys direction, that you've learned that validation is a trap, that you've learned that fear is not an enemy. It's energy waiting to be disciplined, that you've learned that compassion without control is weakness, and you've learned that discipline without heart becomes cruelty. The cold mind is not about freezing your humanity, that it's about protecting it. When your mind is calm, your actions become powerful. When your heart is warm, your purpose becomes pure. You need both. That's the balance, that's the paradox. The colder your mind, the warmer your heart becomes, because you're no longer reacting from pain. You're responding from purpose, that you're no longer driven by ego. You're driven by mission, that's transformation, that's mastery. Now, let's talk about your daily ritual. Here's how you live the cold mind code every single day. 1. Morning. Before the world wakes up, sit in silence. Observe your mind. Don't control it. Watch it. Let your thoughts pass like clouds. That's how you build awareness. Point 2. Daytime. When challenges come, detach. When people test you, breathe. When emotions rise, slow down. You don't need to react. You choose to respond. That's control. Point 3. Evening. Reflect. What triggered you today? What did you hold back from? What did you learn? Write it down. That's mastery through reflection. Point 4. Night. Forgive yourself and others. Let go of what you can't change. That's how the mind stays cold and the heart stays warm. Do this every day, without exception. Without excuse. You don't need motivation. You need repetition because repetition rewires your nervous system. Repetition turns reaction into reflection. Repetition turns chaos into calm. That's how you become unshakable. That's how you build the cold mind. Observe, detach, act, repeat. You have a choice. You can stay reactive or become reflective. You can live in emotion or rise through discipline. You can chase approval or build conviction. The world doesn't need more passion without control. That IT needs calm minds with warm hearts. That IT needs leaders who don't crumble under pressure. IT needs you, cold, calm, clear. Because when your mind is cold, you stop panicking. When your heart is warm, you start connecting. And when you balance both, you start winning. This is your mission now. Live with awareness. Act with precision. Love with purpose. Detach from outcomes. Calm is power. Purpose is warmth. Combine both, and you are unstoppable. This is not just a philosophy, that it's a weapon, that it's your new operating system. The Cold Mind Code. Live it. Repeat it. Become it. Because when your mind stays calm and your purpose stays hot, no chaos can shake you. Not failure. Not rejection. Not fear that you'll walk through storms untouched, that you'll move through life with quiet certainty. And you'll leave behind not noise, but legacy. That's the power of the cold mind. That's the warmth of a disciplined heart. That's the code. Now live it. Closing conclusion. Most people lose not because they're weak, but because they overreact. They let emotion run the mission. They chase approval, fear rejection, and mistake passion for power. But different now that you've learned to pause, to breathe, to channel, that you've built the cold mind that sees clearly and the warm heart that loves with control. The next time chaos comes, don't shrink, stand still, don't respond.